Hey guys, let's level up here. Let's go to the next level. We're going to do another drawing tutorial. We're going to try to keep our brains out of the way. We're still not looking at an image yet, so I'm just going to show you now how to draw what I would call a bolt has a little nut that screws onto it. So we're going to draw that now. Let's go to my document camera, make it full screen so you can see our drawings from before. These were the places where our brains will sometimes cause us to make a mistake, but we corrected that with the drawings that we made. So now we're going to draw like I said, it's the part that goes onto a bolt is called a little nut. So going to start over here, and I'm going to draw a hexagon. So it's a six-sided shape. If you're not sure about how to draw one, start by just drawing kind of a rooftop shape there. And then I'm going to draw another line that angles down like that. Yep, you guys can see that. I want to try to make all of these lines kind of the same length. And now I'm going to mirror that. So I'm going to basically draw three more lines. And you can see they're kind of going in the same direction. And here's what's important. So this line and the opposite line, just like with the boxes, I want these to be the same length. I'm going to draw now the line that is opposite this one. They're not only the same length, but they're parallel to each other. So I'm going to draw a parallel line here to this guy. Trying to make it the same length, just kind of eyeballing it. And then whatever's left here, hopefully it would be the same. It's all right if it's not. So now I've got my hexagon shape. Now, this is where it can get a little bit tricky, and this is why like I said, we're leveling up. We're going to a more complicated shape. So I'm going to create the opening that the bolts would go through here on this shape. And to do that, I'm going to create an ellipse shape, the top of our cylinder. And I'm going to actually turn my paper just a little bit so that it fits in there the way I want it to. I want it to fit kind of the same distance around this whole shape. So I'm drawing this one very lightly so that if I end up with something I'm not so happy with, I can erase it. I haven't mentioned that, but that's very important to draw lightly so that you can correct any mistakes you make. So I'm okay with that. I'm kind of looking at it on the screen, seeing what I think. I'm going to move forward with that. The reality is that the space between this side and this side would probably be different, but I'm at a place where I can kind of move forward with it. All right, so going to now create the side of this nut. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to draw some parallel lines. And the same way our rules with our boxes applied, these parallel lines that I'm going to draw need to be the same length. So I've made this one about that long. I'm going to try to make this one the same length. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw two more. So from every vertex, sorry to throw a math word at you, but there it is. From every vertex, I'm going to draw a line that hopefully is the same length as that first line that I drew. And then the same thing with this other vertex. These are all the bottom edge of this bolt. So I've got those lines, and now again I'm going to draw some lines that kind of connect those ends. And just like we talked about all along, these rules apply. So this line and the line I'm going to draw right now hopefully are parallel. If they're parallel, I'm doing something correct. So I'm going to draw now another one, and then another one over here. So you can see I've kind of created my shape. Now, ideally, if I was going to draw this and if I was going to ask my students to draw this, I would have one of these little nuts that I can actually look at and kind of study and see how. In fact, those of you that have been in my class know that I have a bowl full of these. We get them out and we kind of study them to draw them. But I want to think now, I'm imagining with my mind, what does the inside of this look like? Can I see the bottom? I don't believe from this angle I can. But what I do know is that I can see lines that kind of wrap around the inside of this. And what I want you to notice about these lines that I'm drawing, so these are the lines that the bolt would kind of screw into. What I want you to notice about these lines that I'm drawing is they are parallel with that first curve, or the top half of my ellipsis. So you can see I'm kind of creating the inside of that. And then again, remember I kind of created my light in the previous video. So I want to come up here and I'm going to imagine where is my drop shadow falling on this light. So I've kind of done that. You've seen when I've shaded these before that a lot of times what I do is I color close to the edge of the shape that I'm making. And the reason that I do that is because it gives me kind of a thicker line here. So when I start coloring in the direction of the light, I don't have to worry about going over onto the shape. So you can see close to the actual nut, I'm making sure that it's nice and dark. Further away, you can see I get a little bit lighter with how hard I'm pressing my pencil. Now again, as I said at the beginning of our video, let's level up with this drawing. So I want to kind of think about the top of this and what that shape would be. I'm just kind of imagining what it would be. I know that it's not flat across the way this shape is currently. So I'm just going to kind of fill that in. A little bit of shading. And then the other thing, and we haven't done this on any of these other shapes, but I want to think about like what do the shadows look like on especially the sides of this. So this part of the nut is the furthest away from my light. So I'm going to shade that in, and I'm going to shade it in nice and dark. There shouldn't be really any light touching that part. So I'm going to kind of just shade in that one little diamond shape. And again, you can see it starting to make my nut look a little bit more realistic. I know that this one's probably catching some light, so I'm not going to shade that, but I am going to shade this. I want to make this shade a little bit lighter than this, because I think some of that light might be getting around there somehow, and just making that. So you can see I'm just adding a shade that is lighter than what I have already. You can see that it's starting to make this guy look more realistic. And then I know, again, the inside here, it should be dark. So I'm going to shade it, but I don't want it to be darker than the lines that I've already drawn. So I might actually go over those lines again. And the truth is, if I was actually looking at this thing in real life, these lines would not only be lines, there would be kind of a wedge shape. Alright, so there you can see we leveled up our drawing game a little bit by creating a hexagonal, three-dimensional piece. So let's give it a try. I'd love to see what you guys do. Thanks for watching.